Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Hangout with Brittany, Olivia, and Karen. Today we will be discussing some helpful technology tools you can use in your classroom when teaching your students. So I will start today, and I'm going to show you a tool called Zaption. I'm going to share my screen with you guys so you can see it. So this first one we're going to go to is called Zaption. When I'm going to it, I'll tell you a little bit about Zaption. Zaption is a tool that allows teachers and students both to create videos, and they're interactive, so you can share them with your classroom. You can sign in with Facebook, or you can create an account using an email and password. I've chosen to use Facebook for the creation of my account. So when you sign into Zaption, this is the main page you see in your account. So these are lessons you've created, and there's also sample lessons that other people have created for you. I think Zaption is a great way to get students involved in the classroom in your teaching, and it's just a step beyond you standing in front of the classroom, and it's a step beyond them creating paper and pencil assignments. So what you first do when you come to Zaption is you would start a new lesson. And you would find a video from YouTube. And the cool thing about this is you can use a video that's already been published to YouTube, because any videos that are going to come up on this search, YouTube has given Zaption permission to use those videos. So there's no fear of copyright for whoever uses this program. But you can also create your own YouTube video and upload it in this section. So once you've uploaded your video, you have the option of adding in your video a text slide, an image slide, a drawing, an open response, multiple choice, and checkboxes. Now, these are your options that come with the free version. If you would like to upgrade to the Pro feature, you also have the option of adding numerical responses, drawn responses, and discussions, and the replay feature. So to give you guys an idea of Zaption, we will watch one I've created for this video. The first time we watch it, you guys won't be able to hear the sound, because if I turn the sound up, it'll actually echo on my computer. So we're going to play right through so I can show you a feature of Zaption, and then I'll replay it the whole way through and let you guys hear it and interact with it. So after you've created it, the students can log on to their own computer, and you can share a link and they can play it. Or if you want to do it as an entire class, you can present it. So for the purpose of this presentation, we are going to present it. So if you guys don't worry about this right now, we're going to start and skip this, and in the next sound, when I play the volume, I'm going to ask you guys to enter this information in on a device you may have with you so you can participate in the interactive features that come with Zaption. So remember, this time no sound. We're just going to go through and see what it does. So this is where the video starts, and I haven't edited anything here. When the video is playing, you can do things. You can mark on the screen, and it stops, and in the present mode you can see this. I could also use my laser pointer and point out things as they're talking. And coming up soon, we're going to have my first interactive feature, and we'll stop right there. And right here, what I want to tell you, so this is where on your phone you'll have the option to submit your response. Now, there's many different kinds of questions. This was just my multiple choice question. And some of the features you can see in the corner right here is how long it's taking students to answer the response. While you guys are answering the questions, I want you to pay attention to this bar right here. Since there's two of you who will be participating, when one of you have answered, it will say it's 50% complete. And then when both of you have answered, it'll show 100%. So this allows the teacher to see who's submitting their response without kids feeling pressured and calling them out. You also have the option to lock the screen where it is. But this is the coolest part. Once kids have answered, you have the option to show responses. and it'll show how many answered each thing. And in this one, it's a trick question, but I put 2 of the same answer just to see, maybe you could discuss with the class why they chose one over the other, whether they were confused, whether the wording they liked better. And if some kid has if only like 1% of your class has an off-the-wall answer, this would be the time to pause and reflect. So now I'm going to go back and let you guys watch the video all the way through with sound. Remember, you won't hear me at all, so just enter that code and I will play through as if you're my class and I'm presenting it to you. Let me turn my volume up and we will get started. And I actually need to go back to the main page because you also have the option to resume, so it would start from where we were. Lessons, take you right back to where we were. And then we will present again.
Or not. We can see the whole solar system from here. I think we can hear it from here too. We are the planets of the solar system, different sizes for everyone. The music never ends. We are such good friends, and we all orbit the sun.
We call the sun, rapping first on this track from the beginning. I'm the center of the solar system, planets keep spinning around me. So hot, I'm roasting, you see. Now I pass the mic. The planet closest to me.
Mercury, the smallest planet, small as Earth's moon. I get super hot and cold and I spin very slow. On Venus, I got mountains and volcanoes that spray. I'm the same size as Earth, but in the opposite way. Yeah, I'm Earth. I'm the home to every boy and girl.
Such a beautiful, beautiful world. I'm Mars, a red planet. I got deserts and ice, and I've got 2 moonmates. That's like 1 moon twice.
I'm Jupiter, the biggest planet. I'm humongous, gargantuan. I spin the fastest, rap the fastest, plus I'm handsome. Blam, son.
I'm Saturn. Check out my beautiful rings, made up of billions of rocks, dust, and other things.
I'm Uranus. I say that with pride. Okay, I lied. I'm embarrassed because I'm the only planet lying on its side.
I'm Neptune. I'm cold, dark, windy, and mysterious. I'm very stormy, so bring an umbrella. I'm serious.
We are the planets of the solar system, different sizes for everyone. The music never ends. We are such good friends, and we all orbit the sun. Well, we are done exploring the solar system. I am thirsty. Let's explore the rest of the Milky Way galaxy.
So as you guys can see when you watch that video, there's a lot you can do with Zaption. Now one of the coolest features, excuse me, is after the video, the teacher has the option to view the analytics page. So on this analytics page, it's another way to see how your students are answering questions, how long they're viewing things. So our average viewing time was 1 minute and 58 seconds. How many people have watched the video in your class? if students skipped a question. So if you guys noticed after you answered the question, I had to replay the video. So you may not always have 100%. You may just have to play through because the purpose of Zaption is not, it's so you don't have to call out on students. So if you are sitting there for a minute and maybe 2% of the class hasn't answered and you keep reminding them, you may just need to move on. So this will show the percent of the question that was completed. And you also can skip forward and backwards. So this will show you the average amount of skips forward and backwards. That's in the overview. In the response section, we can see all the choices. And this is where the teacher can see the names of who chose the right answer. And this shows you who viewed the presentation. So this is where I come and I want to tell you guys about some options for using Zaption in your classroom. Now, I think the immediate thought of using Zaption is to use these lessons and create lessons to teach your lessons, to give it a different way. Some other options would be to provide your gifted and talented kids with a lesson that expands on the content you learned on today. You could also have lessons for kids who are having trouble understanding the content that would help them perform more on level. So if they got done math early and they're having a hard time understanding multiplication, you could have a little extra multiplication video for them to answer some questions, and with that analytics page you can see if they're improving. Now beyond this though, Zaption just isn't for the teacher to publish things with. The teacher can have their account, but you can also have kids sign up for a free version in your classroom. And so the sign-in button would usually be over here, but I'm already logged in. And they could sign up for the free version, and they could use these to present information to the class. They could also use them as presenting information to their parents. So maybe in science you guys just learned about habitats and you want to show parents what's going on. So collaboratively as a class you could make a video, send home to the parents, and then don't require the parents to do it, but it would be fun for the kids to check in, look at the answers on the analytics page, and see how their parents did with their work. Now, with the ability to just play anywhere, it could also be a great option to do distance learning. And one issue with that, though, is if you're going to send it home as homework, you do have to consider if all your students have technology at home. What did you guys think about Zaption when we watched that video? Did you guys like it, or what were your thoughts on it?
I think it would be great used as a station, like a pre-teach. So have students rotate it through it as a station. Say in math for a topic that the teacher is going to teach maybe next day or next couple days, so that when they go, the teacher starts teaching it, they at least have an idea in a fun way that it's been presented to them, and then maybe they can bring to the table some information, some background knowledge to, like, I don't want to say help the teacher, but to enhance that teaching, so they can say, you know, where she's not necessarily presenting to everybody because of the limited technology sometimes, where each kid would still be able to interact individually. She would get that individual report on that specific student to see whether this type of technology helped or enhanced that student's teaching, or if it was maybe just distracting for them, and then she can kind of go from there.
And I really like the point that you brought up, Brittany, of using it kind of as a reinforcement. If a kid was having trouble with the concept, you know, you teach a separate lesson if you wanted to, and then you use the video as reinforcing what they just learned, like in a fun way. I think that's a good idea also.
And the thing I really like about Zaption, thanks for your input. There's just so many, there's endless opportunities, I think, with Zaption. But the best thing about it is, Karen and Olivia, I'm sure that you guys don't have the same learning style preference. And this is great because with the drawing features, there's just so many different ways, and it helps attract to every different style of learner and include everybody. And it also helps with their ability to think critically, because when you guys were answering those questions, nobody could help you. So you had to use only the knowledge you had, and you had to make something out of that. So depending on how you make the video, you can increase the level of critical thinking.
it also gives the student the confidence to at least try. Sometimes when they have to raise their hand and they're wrong, then that's embarrassing. Whereas this, no one knows. When you look at the responses, none of the students know who answered what. So it's a little less embarrassing and a little more confidence to at least try.
Yes, and on the analytics page, we can go back so I can show you this. So this is just the teacher's view, and I really haven't thought about this till I presented it to you guys, but when kids would make their own presentations, they would be able to see other student responses. So I think that would also bring in the fact that we need to be respectful in the classroom. But this would also show them why maybe it'll help them realize that they didn't have a strong presentation in a certain area too. So classroom respect, and definitely need to be considerate when viewing this section if you're going to have the kids make it. But when you view this page, you can see where the kids scored. And I like this because, as I mentioned, using this for a review, in my field placement this week, we used a box pulling machine to observe force. And on their worksheet, the students had to make a claim about force. And the kids just didn't grasp the concept of what a claim was, and they were providing evidence instead of a claim. I think Zaption could have served as a useful review because it would have been interesting to the students. It's not something they're used to, so this is really going to pull their attention in at first. And instead of calling on students in class to, like I had to do, to see if they were understanding what a claim was, I could just come here and say, okay, Olivia needs extra work in this section. So then we can individualize our instructions from that point.
Right.
And Brittany, oh, sorry, Karen.
No, it's okay.
I think the point that you made of getting like immediate feedback, if she wanted to look at it right afterwards, before she moved on to something else, even if it was just a worksheet on the material before moving on, she could immediately look and say, okay, do I need to stop before I start something else? Do we need to go over this again?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Now, just remember, the YouTube video, the YouTube video I uploaded to Zaption, it was pretty short, so it didn't take me much time, but these could get really in-depth. So when you're allowing your students to do these, you need to provide the right amount of time. And as a teacher, I would recommend maybe getting your whole grade in on this, providing maybe somebody create the science ones for the month and rotate them. That way it's not all on one teacher. And make them generic and then modify them depending on the needs of your class each year. So if the content is still relevant, you can reuse them. And just remember, as with any technology, that Zaption is internet, and sometimes our internet's not always working. So keep in mind you need to have a plan B if your internet's not working. Now, the next extension I'm going to show you is called Crafty Extensions. While we're getting to the web page and the home page, let me tell you a little bit about Crafty Extensions. These are extensions for your Google Chrome browser, so they won't work on any other browser. And Crafty Extensions were created by Dr. Chris Kraft in Columbia, South Carolina. Dr. Kraft is a classroom teacher, so he knows exactly what we'll need. And when I show you guys these, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. They're pretty useful, simple but useful in our classroom. So when you get to the home page and scroll down, you'll see that we have Crafty Level, Crafty Writes, and Crafty Text. Now, technology is always changing, so unfortunately, Crafty Writes right now has been removed from the Google Chrome store. They may be modifying it. I emailed Dr. Kraft, and I haven't gotten a response yet, so I have your guys' emails after the presentation. When we're done, when I find out, I'll definitely let you guys know, because Crafty Writes is a very interesting extension as well. But for today, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Crafty Level and Crafty Text. So as you can read on the screen, I'll also tell you a little bit. Crafty Level shows you the Flesch Kincaid reading level of any web page you go on. And once you install it, you'll see the CL extension in the corner of your screen with a red box and a number. The number in that red box is the Flesch Kincaid grade level. Now, I don't know how your guys' reading programs work in your school, but we use a program called the ERLA reading program. So it's all about when we're independent reading at my school, we want the kids reading on a level that they're functioning on. So even though they may be on a 3rd grade level, they may be reading on a 2nd grade level still. And something I never thought of is when we provide our kids assignments. So if I pull up force and motion for kids. I may tell them to go to the first website that pops up and read about it. Online Kids Discover. It seems like kids could read it. Let's go to it. And when we get there, we may find out that the reading level, this one has an easy reading level, easier. But whatever unit you want to pull up, it's going to show you up here. So the Flesch Kincaid grade level on this one is a 6. But where I'm going with this is the fact that when we pull up any assignment, we'll be able to see. So we don't have to second guess on whether this website is too easy because we all have an idea of where our students are functioning. And another option to support all different learners in your classroom, if I know that Joe can't read with everybody else, he's always been maybe 2 levels on our reading program behind, I could provide different websites with the same content and let the students choose. And I'm sure it's human nature that they're going to choose the website that is easier for them so they can still be functioning at their level and grasp the same material. So these are short and sweet. That's all there is to Crafty Level. Every website you go to, it'll show you the number up here. And I think as students are reading content in all subject areas, so this is science, but I'm focusing on it being in their grade level. So even though they're reading science, as they continue to read in their own level, and their reading skills will progress immensely because they're able to function, and it's going to make them like reading if they're not struggling to understand big words, and if they're more focused on the content rather than their frustration, they'll see reading as a fun thing. And just to let you guys know, the ERLA program does not go off Flesch Kincaid grade level, but I'm assuming that as the teacher you'll be able to make those connections, so a student who may be reading in 2nd grade level with the ERLA program or any reading program you guys use, they need to have a 2nd grade level up here in their Flesch Kincaid score. And Crafty Text is really interesting. Crafty Text displays large words in the center of your screen. So in order to do that, here's my Crafty Text extension in the corner. You just click on it. And you can type a word, you can type a class code, or a website title. So recently in my field placement, we are practicing for our park exam. And many students forgot the website address. And we had to switch back and forth on the features on our smartboard to show kids, and had to walk around and make sure they all had it on their individual laptop, and it was time consuming because on the smartboard they were unable to read this tiny URL up here. So with Crafty Text, you type in what you want to enlarge and you hit the enter button, and it pulls it up really large on your screen. This is also useful for kids who may have vision problems. It may be something, you click on Crafty Text and put a new one in. Say I want to focus on a vocabulary word, so we may be reading about force. That's the main idea. So I showed you things on my smartboard, and now we want to bring it back, and let's come up with a definition for force. Let's focus your attention on this word. Now, I think crafty extensions are very simple, but I think they have many uses. Are there any uses I didn't mention that you guys thought of?
For the Crafty Text that you're on right now, I think you could also use it for like a discussion while you're teaching a lesson. Like you could type student answers in there as they are telling you the answer.
That's a great idea. I never thought of that, Olivia. So I like how you said we could type in a bunch of different things. So if one person said dogs, another person said cats, and another person said fish, it fits to the size of your screen. So I could really keep going on forever with answers, and then we could talk about, just as we did in Zaption, why certain people thought this, and we can come to a different conclusion.
I think it would be great for when they have graphic organizers that need to be filled out when you want them all to have the same information, whereas you know that the spelling's there and everything's there that they just need to copy into their graphic organizer, because you know spelling sometimes trips people up, trips some of the kids up, and they want to make sure they have it spelled right. So rather than having to spell each word individually for each student, or you know many students, that it's all right there, they can see it big enough that they can just copy it.
A lot of teachers, I just want to put this in here too. When I was reading reviews, a lot of teachers struggled. They would get their text put in here, and they'd be like, let's do dogs again. Oh, crappy text isn't working. My word isn't big. What is Dr. Kraft thinking? This doesn't work. Don't forget to press enter. It's very important. It brings it up to you guys. And also, as I'm finishing up on my tools today, I just want to, they all use technology, so we need technology in working order. But with this one, you also need specifically your laptop and if you have a smart board or the projector you're using, because they're, at this point, I'm sure they'll always be upgraded and have things changed about them. But at this point, you can't, I couldn't send this to your guys' laptop for you to see from my classroom unless we're doing a hangout and I'm screen sharing. So you're going to need the smart board, the projector, your laptop, all those things working. And it could be fun for kids too. You could even pull up Crafty extensions and give kids the option to use these in their presentations to focus attention. If you research a little bit about Crafty extensions in the Google store, teachers are loving it. And as I mentioned before, the simplicity is so easy but so useful in the classroom.
I have a question. Does the copy paste feature work in it? So if you were to copy this small lightweight Chrome extensions, could you paste it right in there, or would you actually have to retype it?
I'm not sure, but let's check it out while we're here. So I'm going to go through and copy excuse me, I didn't get that all highlighted there. And I'll copy it. Yep, it does work. So that's also a very helpful feature of it. Thanks for coming up with that question for us. All right, well, if you guys don't have any more questions, we are going to move on to Olivia to tell us a little bit more about her tools today.
Okay, so today I have two tools that I'm going to show you. The first one is Kahoot, and the second one is ThinkPort. So I'm going to share my screen so we can check them out. Okay. So when you Google Kahoot, you want to, up here in the URL, you can see it says Get Kahoot, and that's where you will be able to sign in, and you can make quizzes, you can make discussions, as you see here, you can make surveys, and this is what your student screen will look like. You could use this in your classroom. I know some classrooms have computers, so if you wanted to divide your class into groups and have each group at a computer, you could do that, or if you wanted to borrow iPads for the day or just for one period, you could also do that, and that's what their screen would look like. And then when you were to play the game, you want to make sure that once you Google it, that your URL says kahoot.it, and that's where you'll enter the game pin that they give you. So I'm going to sign in and show you guys my game. All right.
Was your account free, Olivia? Could students create this? Not to jump ahead in your presentation, but could students create individual accounts to quiz the class on the information they studied?
Yeah, both the tools, ThinkPort and Kahoot, are both free. And when I'll talk about ThinkPort later, you don't necessarily need an account to look at the material, but I created one. So I created a quiz and a discussion, and I'll show you both of them. So this would be if a teacher had taught a lesson the day before on the first Thanksgiving for social studies, and she wanted to, the next day, quiz the students on what they learned. You can type in your question right here. You can see you can change the time limit. You can make it worth more amount of points. It automatically gives the question points that it's worth, but you could change that, and you can add an image to your picture. Down here, you put in your answers, you choose which one's correct, and you can add or subtract the amount of questions you want. So you can see over here on the left, on the bottom, there's 5 questions. And I'm just going to show you how to add a picture if I wanted to.
I really like so far that this allows you to change the amount of points per question. That was one feature Zaption doesn't have quite yet, and that kids are competitive, that if a question's worth more, they're going to think about it a little bit more. So I like that feature of this program.
Yeah. So you just pick your picture that you want, and it's pretty fast. It uploaded it real fast. And now we will save and continue, and we'll play. Okay. Play now. So you would press launch on the teacher's screen, and then over here, press play. Alright. Launch. Alright, so there's our pin, and we would go over here, 987. You would enter, the students would enter their pin. And each team could give themselves a name. And then you see team 1 right here. So 5 questions. This would be on the teacher's screen. Why did the Pilgrims leave England? So you see you have 30 seconds, you have 3 choices. Why did the Pilgrims leave England? To help the Indians, no pets allowed, or religious freedom. And the students would click on their screen what they thought was the correct answer. And it would show right away if they got it right. And you could see how many students chose which one and which one was right. So that's how you would play the quiz. And if you wanted to do a discussion.
Olivia, real quick, on the teacher's screen, it showed, you just showed it, it had the symbol and it had the answer to the question. Does that come up on the student screen, or do they just constantly see the boxes that correlate?
Yeah, the student would just have the box and the symbol.
Okay.
So if you wanted to do a discussion using Kahoot, the teacher would choose a question if she wanted. I think the quiz is really for like a review, and if you wanted to do a discussion, you could start your lesson out with it just to get a feel for what your students are thinking before you start, you know, like their background information. So why is it important to consider other people's perspectives? And it's kind of the same thing. There's your code again. And there's our nickname. Why is it important to consider other people's perspectives? And they have 2 options. It's not important, or we learn about their point of view. So the student would choose. See, they only have the picture. They don't have the question, but they could see it on the screen. The teacher will have her screen projected, and they just pick the symbol that correlates. And she can see how many people chose. So, I mean, when you do a discussion, it only gives you 2 choices, not like the quiz where you could add or subtract questions and change the amount of points, because discussions are really just to get an idea of, you know, where your class is, what they're thinking.
The discussion seems like it would be more for like a true-false. So if someone answered true, then discuss why you think it was true or why it is true, and if they thought it was false, or, you know, discuss why it was false, or, you know, that type of discussion.
Yeah, you could definitely do that too. You could change your question, and then instead of writing an actual answer, you could write true or false. You could totally do that too.
I think this serves also as a great discussion for a pre-write if you just discussed a certain topic and you get the feeling that your kids aren't grasping it too well, but they still have to complete the written assignment, you could pull this up on the board and kind of, you're not giving them the answer, you're just guiding their thoughts for their writing so they're a little bit on the right path.
Right.
The only thing I don't care for is there's a lot of tabs that you're switching between, and that may be because you're being the teacher and the student, so it might be because you're going back and forth, but it seems like you're switching windows all around a lot.
Yeah, as soon as you press play, it'll open up a new tab for the teacher, and of course it's just because we're not playing it, but they would have one screen on the smart board of what the teacher wants them to see, and then the play screen would be on their iPad, but because I was just kind of showing it to you, it can be confusing.
Yeah.
Back and forth. Alright, so now we'll go to my next tool, which is ThinkPort. And it's really fun. It's just a huge resource for teachers. It's 12 to K-12 classroom. There's things for teachers' career. They have certification, There's early childhood resources, and there's also family and community. So if we wanted to look in the classroom tab, we could go to online clips and see what they have there. And maybe you wanted a video to put in your lesson. You choose the subject. So let's say social studies. And it'll give you all types of media that you can add to your lesson that day. They have the presidential election, Baltimore, Constitution, and you choose. You could use it for every lesson that day. You could use it just for your history lesson. Another thing that they have is interactive media, which is a lot of fun. I got to see my placement teacher use this. She just scrolled down and found whatever video that she wanted to watch. And I'm going to show you guys this Pathways to Freedom. It's a video about slaves, and she chose to use it for teaching the students about perspective, and it puts you in a slave's perspective. So I'm going to turn my volume up, and we're just going to kind of explore where this link takes us, and then afterwards we'll talk about it.
Steal away, steal away.
You were born a slave here in this cabin on a farm at the tip of Maryland's eastern shore. You've lived here for all of your 12 years with your mom and dad and your grandma. When they all died last summer, it made your small family even smaller. But you knew you could count on your brother and sister, and you always had your cousins on the next farm over. But it is not easy. You spend most of your days working in the big house, doing chores like hauling wood and taking care of your master's children. They can play whenever they want, but you can't. You have to work. They are learning how to read and write, but not you. People don't want slaves to be able to do this. Secretly, you listen when their mother teaches them these things. That's how you learn to write your name. Your cousin Cyrus says it might come in handy. He knows people.
Alright, so, you'd have to really get into the video. I think the video is like 20 minutes long, but along the way, if you look right here, they give you the choice, go with your sister or stay with your brother. So the students are picking choices. It's interactive, the music, it kind of creates this classroom environment of feeling like you're in their shoes. And this resource is great, and it just came from ThinkPort. She just scrolled down and found the one she wanted. It has a ton of resources for your classroom and your students.
That video specifically seems like a moment that you would get the kids to close their eyes, relax, and kind of put themselves in that situation. You know, think about the mood, the music, the tone of voice that the narrator's using, all those things, and how does it make them feel? You know, is it happy and upbeat? You know, or is it sad and real? You know, however they would feel, it would get them into the mood and moment of what you're trying to convey.
On that same note, Karen, I think it leads to many different things. This was a social studies lesson, but if we're going to observe mood and tone there, you have a little bit of your reading instruction in there. I also like it because we always can't get the funding we need for field trips and stuff, so not that it's an alternative, but it's just another option and a different way of teaching. I really like that. And another thing, so far on the website, I like all the options, because not saying that teachers don't always have ideas, but sometimes we run thin, or sometimes we have to teach concepts that may not be our favorite. So this is just a nice alternative when we do run out of ideas, to go get some ideas of things other people have done.
And I see it's geared mainly toward Maryland, or it's based in Maryland. So I can assume that most of the stuff is geared toward the Maryland State curriculum anyway, so that it should be easy to find lots of stuff on there.
Yeah, and like what Brittany said about field trips and funding, if you look under Think Family and Community, they have online field trips. And the slave video I just showed you is under this tab also. So they have a bunch of different ones. War of 1812, if you wanted to pretend to take a field trip back in time, you could do that. And another resource that they have is under Think Career Reading Strategies. If you're just struggling to help your students and you need ideas, you can go on here, and they have a lot of different resources. You know, they have a guide, you have a video you can watch to help your students, and they also have strategies. So I think ThinkPort is it's a really big help. You know, sometimes if you wanted to ask a fellow teacher for help, they might be busy, but you can just go on here and look around and explore and find what you need.
I think this would be really interesting to show to maybe a resource teacher or somebody at your school who may not know about this, because just as I mentioned before, we do kind of run out of ideas, and it may even be a communication tool between resource teacher and classroom teacher on some ideas they're suggesting for what we can do for a student, because they're certified in that area. They know what they're doing, and we do, but not to the extent they do. So that would be I feel like that would be a nice, helpful communication, close the gap idea there.
Yeah, you could definitely share both of these tools with the other teachers around you in different grades. I think they're helpful for any grade. All right, so those were my tools, and now Karen will talk to us about some more tools.
Okay, so I'm going to discuss BookWizard, TouchCast, and Plickers. So let me share my screen. Okay, so the first one is BookWizard, and it is a resource for teachers. That's not the one, I'm sorry. BookWizard is a tool through Scholastic website. Okay, so I have a few books that I'm going to test so you can share, so you can see how this works. They use the guided reading level and the level equivalency. So it doesn't go with all reading programs. As Brittany was saying, she uses the IRLA, as does my school. And so you would have to get a conversion chart so that you knew which level these books were at. But it's a great tool for parents, because they can make sure that their children are reading at a level that they should be reading at. And their schools can help them, you know, say, okay, well, even though your child is in second grade, they're only reading at the first grade reading level. So make sure you're finding books that are on that level as opposed to the second grade, because we want to encourage students to read, not discourage them from reading. So we want to make sure that it's easy enough, but also has a little bit of a challenge, but not too challenging that they don't want to read. So we're going to do a book. It's called Something Good by Robert Munsch. I'm sure you guys know these books. And you can see it's found 105 items for those 2 words in the title. So this is the actual book, and we can click on it. And then it just tells you a little bit more about it, about the book, the author. Right here is the interest level. So grades K through 2 would be interested in a book like this. And of course, this is just on a general guideline. You may have older students that would be interested in something like this. This is the grade level equivalent to reading. So it's a 2nd grade would be the first number, and the 0.8 is about halfway. The 2.5 would be about halfway through the 2nd grade year. So the 2.8 would be almost to the 3rd grade reading level. And here's the Lexile measure, which is a 520L. The DRA is a 18, and the guided reading is the letter K. So there's an actual chart to help you with the equivalencies, which you could also use in the classroom if you had a different reading level or different book program that you used. So you can see the different levels. So A through D on the guided reading level is for a kindergartner.
Karen, I really like that it has this page that shows you the different levels and the fact that it's so easy to access, because in my field placement we just had an incident where a student, his enjoyment reading level was chapter books and things that were out of his independent reading level, and we were unable to, not convince, but help his mom understand why he was reading such easier books in class, and that they would help build him up to the level of what he likes to read now. So this would have been really easy for us to send home and let her, if she has internet, let her do some playing around on her own to help her understand what we were saying a little more.
Yeah, exactly. And they make chapter books that are for younger grades as well. But the main thing is you really just want to get kids to read anything, but make sure they're interested in it, because that's definitely going to make sure that they want to read it. But you can see on the chart here, so E through I is actually on the 1st grade reading level, but it's also included in the 2nd. So there is some overlapping. So it shows that when they get to this, that they're actually kind of working their way into the next grade as well. So it's nice to see that there's some teachers that my kids, or some parents that, you know, their kid is the brightest kid ever, and so this kind of gives them a little reinforcement that your child is working toward the right direction, that they are, you know, even though it might be a lower E, it's still you know, or a higher E, it's still a low E too. So it kind of gives them a little reinforcement there, and so that just goes to grade level 6.
Karen, if I could make a comment, I also think what popped into my head was being able to show your principal. Like, I know it's a great resource for parents, but also teachers, if you wanted to show your principal, this is what they're reading, and if I put it in here, you can see how well or where we need help with. You could show your principal, you know, how your class is doing.
Right, yeah. So that was, and Scholastic itself has many more tools for teachers. They have lots of printables. They have some strategies and ideas for helping your kids. However, BookWizard was the tool itself that I was researching. So again, it may or may not work with your school's reading program. However, it is always a good resource to give to parents so that they can make sure that they understand the reading level and what's appropriate for their child. You can see it has a mobile version as well. Also on this website is Storia, which is actually ebooks, which is great, especially with the upcoming technology, that you can get the ebooks right through there through Scholastic. Okay. Any other questions on this? Okay. So we're going to go to TouchCast as the next one. Okay. So TouchCast is an app that you would get, and it is a way for students to create presentations, but they're interactive. Students and teachers, sorry, because teachers can use this instead of an actual presentation where they stand up there. Maybe they have a sore throat or they are losing their voice and they just can't make it till the end of the day when they have social studies. This is a great way for them to be able to have a presentation created on a topic and actually present it and be able to interact with the students. The students could, a substitute even, can use this, and the students are still learning. They're not losing that, that lesson. So I'm going to show you one that's already been created so you can see ideas of how the students can use them. It's kind of like a weather where they have a green screen behind them and they can put things and ideas down. So this is one created by a student, and she's in Pakistan. She'll tell you that, but you can see the background behind her. Obviously, she's not there. So that's a picture that she's put behind her to make it look like she's there, kind of look like newscasters do with the weather maps and stuff. So I want you to hear this. So I'm going to play it through, and I'm going to click around so that you can see. But these things are interactive. So you'll see video clips. When one comes up, I'll click on it, and you'll see she'll stop talking, and you'll actually be able to see the video play and hear it. And then you can switch back to her, and she'll continue talking. And it's really a neat interactive way. It stops, so you're not missing the information that she's giving you, but you're also able to understand what she's talking about. So she talks about a video, and then you can watch the video and then go back to her so you understand the points that she's making from that video. So I'm going to play it and turn my volume up so you guys can hear it.
Valley, which is in the northern part of Pakistan. Swat also happens to be the birthplace of Malala Yousafzai, the girl who stood up for education and was shot by the Taliban in October of 2012. Now on the screen is an exclusive interview that Malala did with Diane Sawyer of the ABC News.
And also tonight we are awaiting that other Nobel, the Nobel Peace Prize, historically awarded to men like Nelson Mandela. The average age of the winner is 62. But tonight, the youngest nominee is a 16-year-old girl who spoke up for the 31 million girls around the world who do not get to go to school. She was shot in the head by the Taliban, but she emerges tonight with a new book, I Am Malala, and her message that it is possible for every one of us to change the world. Out of a valley 7,000 miles away, a powerful light.
We are starving for education. For us, it's like it is about her passion for learning and her story that inspired the world. Malala's father, Zahir-Din, also gave a moving TED Talk about his resilient daughter and why he thinks education is so essential, not only in Pakistan but all over the world. After all, he is the one who stimulated Malala to fight for her knowledge. Education in Pakistan greatly differs from education in the United States. According to NCES, in Pakistan, there are 3 million girls that are out of school. In the Swat Valley, where Malala is from, 1 in 3 girls are in school. According to Nation Master, the United States has a 99% literacy rate, and Pakistan has about a 50% literacy rate, 67% for men and 42% for women. The average years of schooling for adults is 12 years in the United States and 3.9 years in Pakistan. The U.S. has 24.21 million students in secondary education, which is 2 times more of the students in secondary education than Pakistan has. As claimed by UNICEF, Pakistan spends 7 times more money on military than education, only spending about $3.6 billion on education. The United States spends $648.04 billion on education. This website has a very useful graph that depicts the ages and social statuses of kids that have never been to school in Pakistan. In this speech on the screen, Barack Obama elaborates what education provides that is more than just jobs and money. He also believes that education reduces poverty. His wife, First Lady Michelle Obama, also delivered a speech to a high school pleading for education. She encourages the students to stay in school and go to college to get a job. As Nelson Mandela.
Okay, so as you can see, she created that with videos and websites and pictures, and they popped up on the screen as she got to that. Now, if you watch till the end, it does give you an option to share it or embed it into a website as well. So that's always an option. But there are also, you could have students do this. That one was obviously for social studies. You could have students do this with their reading, where they videotape themselves reading a story. And not that they necessarily need to even look or add the features, but they can actually just get comfortable with themselves videotaping, using the program, and they can actually reflect back on their reading by listening to themselves to know where they stumbled and maybe where they could brush up on some of their skills.
When I was watching the video, one thing I thought of is there's some dry content we have to teach. So this would be really fun for the teacher to even create and put himself, if we have to teach Italy and we know maybe with our class that they're not going to be into Italy, it would be really cool for us as a teacher to put ourselves in Italy and get a little crazy and get them interested in what we're about to teach. And I also wanted to mention that I liked the fact that Zaption gave users rights to use YouTube videos and stuff. But this website didn't, and I like how it has a little built-in citation and copyright lesson in it, because if you listen to her, she said, as so-and-so mentioned, and then it popped up on the screen. So she was practicing citing to an extent, too, and of course that would change with all grades, but that was nice, too.
Right. Another thing is this would only be useful if there was iPads or computers in the classroom, computers with webcams in the classroom. So that is a stipulation. It could be given as a homework assignment if students have the technology to be able to use that at home. It could just be given as an option to say that you are required to create a research presentation, and that someone could use the mundane PowerPoint, or someone could create something like this. So it just gives students an idea of what's possible. My other thing.
Karen, can I comment real quick?
Sure.
At the beginning, you kind of talked about making it an option. I like how you could say maybe just getting them used to recording themselves. You could have an option of use this tool to just record yourself, or you could use it to record yourself with a picture. You could pick kind of one of the many possibilities just to start off with.
Right, exactly. Even as an introductory, whether it's not, as to the software and how it works, is just have the student do a short little bio about themselves where they're speaking and kind of giving a background of them, but they have maybe a baby picture pop in, or a little fact sheet about themselves, or have a video of them playing a sport or something like that, where they can get used to adding the features before they actually go and try to create an assignment out of it. I also said that I think it's probably geared more for the higher grades for them to be using this as a tool. Maybe high elementary, 4th, 5th grade, all the way up to high school, just because of the technology and the tools that you need or the features that it has. However, students today are in technology more and more. They're earlier. So it's not impossible for others to use, again, with the background, but it's also useful for teachers too. So I think it's definitely a great tool. It's very neat how it works and what the outcome that they get from it. I see students thinking this is very rewarding for students to see that they were able to put something like this together. Any questions about that? Okay. The last one is called Plickers, and if you have, I've sent you all your scorecard. And if you haven't already, to download the Plickers app, that would be great. This is a tool that teachers and students alike can use for quizzes. They do have to have the technology as far as the iPod, an iPod, phone, or iPad, some kind of device to be able to take a picture on, because that's how they would submit their response. So the first thing you would do was you would create your class, and I created this demo class, and it has my 2 students, you guys, and then myself as well. The cards are called, these are basically your students, your seats. So you would have to give each student a number, which is the number of the card number that they would get, which is how you receive their answer. You could add a whole roster. You could print your roster so that you knew at the end which student had which number. I would think at the beginning of the year, if you planned on using this throughout the year, that you would just give one student a number and they would have it all year. However, you could switch up the cards that way if you lost a student or gained a student, or you just wanted to switch up the numbers, you could do that as well. So then back in library, these are the 2 questions that I've created, and you get to, we can create a new question. So we'll say Olivia talked about, oops, not a good typer under pressure. Okay, and then our multiple choice could be we're going to just do 3. And then you would mark the correct one, just as she did in hers. And then you save and create. Oops. So now I have 3 questions. Okay? So you guys have your card, and these are what the cards look like. The card is, here's the number of the card. So this is the number of the student that you would get when you look at your report. It's very important that the correct student has the correct number. If a different student uses a different student's number, it will go to the student that's assigned to this number. So if student number 3 uses student number 1 to answer, the answer will go to student number 1, because the way the picture is created, it knows that this is student number 1. The other kind of tricky part is in your camera, to get your right answer, the correct answer that you want to display to the teacher is this one that's upside down at the very bottom. So if you wanted to answer A, you would need to turn your picture card so that answer A was at the bottom when you take a picture. Does that make sense? Okay. So let's go back, and we're going to, if you guys can have your Plickers app open. Put this in the queue. Okay, are you guys seeing questions in your Plickers? In your app?
Karen, I'm in the demo class, and I just see the option create or library. Where should I go?
You should go to the library, I believe. Let me do it on my phone just so I can answer as well. So you go to demo class, and then you should see a queue.
So do we already need to have a picture of our card on our
Yes.
phone?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And then to answer, you would click on a question and then hit your camera button and take a picture. If it's not working for you, I can show you on mine.
I don't think I can find the right spot to be in.
Okay. Let me stop sharing my computer and I will show you on my phone. Okay. Okay, so here on my phone you can see is the Plickers app, and I will open it, and I select demo class, and then at the top is Q or history, and then these are the questions that I as the teacher have put in the queue, question queue. So I can put one at a time, or I can put them all in there at the same time, and they can answer whichever ones they want, at which time they want. So we'll click on the first one. The first one says, what was the first tool that I discussed so far today? And you see the options. Now, I as the teacher can see the correct answer is in green. You guys would not see that.
Now, is that what our screen should, Olivia, are you able to see that screen?
I think I don't see the questions. Is ours just for uploading an answer?
Yes, you will just upload an answer. So then I would hit my camera, and you can see up here, I can see your names as well, and they'll change colors when you answer the question. So here's my card. I'm number 3, and the correct answer is B. So I need to make sure my B is at the bottom, and then I'm going to take a picture of it. Okay.
The camera button's in, sorry, the camera button's inside the app? Where?
At the top.
This is what my phone looks like right now.
If you hit Q.
It's in it. I mean, it's not a big deal. I'm getting the gist from what you're showing, and I'm sure this just shows how important it would be to have the kids in your class go over it first before they got home on their own.
Yes. So let me go back to my screen so we can see the answers pop in here. Okay. So here's my question history. You can see that this was the other day when I was testing. So this, I wanted to make sure that I was number 3, but I answered on Brittany's card. So you can see Brittany got credit for a wrong answer. So that's where it's really important to make sure that students are using their own number, because they'll give, correct credit or incorrect credit to a different student. So that's important that students understand that. And then you can see only one answered this question correct, and then this one as well. So you get to see, similar to the other tools we've seen, where you get to see the number of students, but not specifically. You can click within to see which student learned, answered correctly, but or didn't answer at all. So it gives you an overview of your whole class from a picture and a number standpoint here, whether you need to go over something a little bit more clear before you move on, or whether you just need to pinpoint a certain student. It could be that they didn't answer because they were absent today, so that would be something that you could do. You could also do that when you create your class. You could create your class based on the students that are there today. So you could add your roster and then just eliminate the students that were not there, so that was never a question. You don't have to look at your attendance and this to know that, oh, this person didn't answer because they weren't there. So it's it's whatever your preference is. So I think this would be great for student review before a test, that you could put them in teams or you could put them individually, which I think is the best, so that you know which student you could definitely maybe say, maybe you need to study a little bit more, or maybe it's the whole class and you need to say, you know what, they're not ready for the quiz on Friday. So I think it's great use for assistive technology or paperless testing. Again, with this, they would have to have the devices to be able to use it. So it's important that they know whether we can get an iPad or iPod. If we ever get to where students are allowed to bring their own technology into the schools, then this would be definitely a great option. But
I really like the idea of this picture you gave us, that you emailed us and we printed out, because I'm sure kids will eventually get around it, but I think it would be a little bit harder if you did it in class for kids to be like, look to their neighbor and see what they're putting, because at first it's the picture, it's a lot to take in, so I think it might alleviate some of that worry too in the class.
And again, here's 3 and 4, and you can see that they're not the same as yours. So each one is different. You're right. It would cut down on a lot of that cheating or trying to cheat, because they can't. You can faintly see the letters around your picture, but it's more difficult. Someone would definitely have to be, apparently leaning over or looking at your answer to be doing that. So I think it's a great tool. I think it's neat. I think the holdback though is that we don't always have the technology. So if you're only using it for a certain subject or content area, then you might be able to just sign out the iPads or something like that. But I think that would be our biggest holdup. If they had the technology at home, it's something that you could give them the link and do at home. But they, again, have to have that technology. So, any questions? Okay, so that concludes our Hangout for today on some of these Google tools that you can use in your classroom. I hope you enjoyed it, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.